We're ready? Okay. I'm going to call to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Yes. Mayor Chip Dutcher.
Here.
Barbara Block.
Here.
Brian Green.
Here.
Doug Lanner.
Here.
Sharon Hendren.
Here.
Don Barnard.
Here.
John Merriman.
Here.
Mr. Barnard's going to do the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the beauty that comes with it. We thank you for the city and all the people that call it home. We also thank you for the ability for us to gather and discuss the matters of our city. We know you are always with us, and today more than ever, we need your guidance. This wonderful city of ours is hurting, and we need you to bring us together, bring a sense of unity and love that we have never seen. Guide the leaders of this town to not only do what is right, but with your guidance and leadership. Give us the wisdom that is necessary to make the correct decisions. We ask that you be with everyone in the building tonight and help us bring our passion together to form a unity and bond that cannot be broken. I love you, thank you, and amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Actually, we're going to move into an executive session. It won't last very long, and we want you all to stay, and we'll be right back.
I thought you were going to do this prayer there for a second.
I guess I need to make a
I need
motion.
a motion, a second, and a roll call vote, please.
I make a motion that we move into executive session to consider the employment, dismissal, discipline, or compensation of a public employee.
I'll
And
second.
there's a second, and Teresa, call the roll.
I'll second.
Who would you like to attend?
I'd like you there, then the seven of us.
Okay.
And,
Diane.
and Sean, too.
Are we moving?
Yeah, we're moving.
We're going next door.
Okay.
And we'll be back
Wait,
shortly.
roll call.
Oh, we got to do roll call. Teresa,
Don Barnard, please.
Here. Yes.
yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Brian Green.
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Doug Lanner.
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
Thank you.
And as of
Taking you in a bar fight.
7:50? Is that close
I'm at
enough?
7:48.
Okay, you're the timekeeper. 7:48. And we're gonna move right along. Next up is Deb Dingus is gonna give us a presentation from Licking County United Way.
Wow. So, good to see all of you. It's been a long time since I've seen some of you face to face,
Yeah.
pandemic, and I know you all are tired. You've had a long night, it looks like, and a long last few months and few years. You know a little bit about what United Way does. You know, we've been here for 89 years in this county. Believe it or not, we just celebrated. So this was just a brief report from our last annual meeting. But a little bit about what we've been doing the last couple of years during the pandemic. I know Chip was on a couple of the meetings. The week that we went down into lockdown, United Way convened almost 60-some people together, 7 a.m. Via conference call and Zoom meetings, convening folks together to say, hey, what do you need? What do you need? What are you doing? What are we doing? As a collective effort to start addressing the needs during the pandemic. And United Way has continually done that, continued to be responsive to whatever the pressing issues are of our community. The needs certainly have changed. We've got some new opportunities which create new needs through Intel. But what I can tell you that many of you know, before the pandemic, we were struggling with the opioid addiction. We are struggling with mental health issues. We are struggling with homelessness. And I'd like to say those problems went away during the pandemic. They didn't. In fact, they've increased, and maybe you've been keeping up with some of those issues. What I can also tell you is that if we've got a population of 177,000 and you have a slice of that pie that's struggling with mental health issues or addiction, issues related to homelessness, you know, financial security, all of those issues, that slice is going to continue to grow. United Way's role will continue to not just be to raise funds, but to convene people together around the table that address an issue and looking at an issue from a variety of perspectives. We have, over the last 2 years, distributed over $3 million throughout Licking County with funds raised through our annual campaign, along with managing FEMA dollars through the emergency food and shelter dollars that come from the federal government, along with ARPA dollars and special grant dollars. Primarily, those special dollars during COVID went to things like emergency food and shelter. Real early on over the last few years, and this was before we saw any of the federal relief dollars, Licking County United Way combined their efforts with the Licking County Foundation. We real quickly, in about 8 weeks, raised $300,000 that went to some folks that we didn't think would reach out to United Way asking for money. So the hospital, the food pantry, job and family services, organizations who did not have immediate access to state and federal dollars. United Way was able to go out, get the dollars they needed right then and there so that they could keep doing the things they needed to do. That's the value of United Way. We partner, we convene, we bring education around what's happening around human and health issues. We're not laying the sewer and water lines like you all are doing or building the streets or the buildings, but we care about the people, and primarily those people that are most vulnerable in Licking County, which are our residents too. So I encourage you to take a look at our annual report. We're going to be around this year like we are every year, and we would love some support. Our government division for the campaign this year is going to be led by Mayor Mark Johns from Heath, as well as Tim Hickens, the administrative director from Pataskala. So he's going to be coming around to all of y'all talking about United Way. John Barry, the head of COTC, is our board president, and Brittany Meisner from the Licking County Chamber is also then our cabinet chair this year. So we've got some great leadership. Thank you for what you're doing. You don't have an easy job. I know you look tired, and I would encourage you, if you've got any questions about what we do, reach out anytime, and we're always available. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Questions for Deb? Thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming. We appreciate all you do, and it's not lost on us how important you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, moving right along. We received some correspondence that I want to bring to your attention from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. And it's for Ghostwriter's new bourbon bar, and I guess it's going to be called Poetic Justice, but I hadn't heard that before until I got this. Anyhow, if anybody has any questions, objections, et cetera, bring them up now, or we will tell them we don't have any. Okay, Teresa, we will respond. Okay, next up is a proclamation honoring National Police Week. And I'm not going to read this because I just want to tell Rusty, and hopefully you will take it back to your officers, how important you are, all of you, and we appreciate all you do and have done, and we want to give you some recognition. And I'm going to hand you this proclamation, which you can share with your officers.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Next up is our reports. And, I'm sorry, I got out of line. Citizen comments on matters not on the agenda, one of the most important parts of this meeting. Anybody who wants to say anything to us, now's the time. Hearing none, we'll move along. Okay, next up are council committee reports. Planning and zoning met on the 10th of May. Next meeting is the 24th of May. Anybody?
Yeah, so we
Ryan?
readdressed our zoning strategy and some things we've been working on the last few years in respect to the new Intel situation, and we decided to go a different route. So we'll be looking at some other things further and doing that. We also have an ordinance that we'll see later on, so that it addresses multifamily housing.
Questions for Ryan? Hearing none, we'll move along. Thank you very much. Design Review Board met on the 10th of May. Anything you want to, anybody want to share? Anything that you may know of that I don't know? Bailey's not here tonight, but.
Sean, if you want to update
Sean?
us on that.
Yeah, there was two applications submitted. The first one was Bell Stores. That one was approved. If you want a copy of the design that was presented to that board, Teresa can probably forward that over to you. The second application was an urgent care right next to the Huntington location, that lot next to the lift station. And that one was sent back for their architect to further review. There was not a lot of favorable comments given for that particular design. And I think they've got a lot more work to do. And I don't know that they'll be back anytime soon. I think they're gonna take it back and see if they can bridge the gap between where Johnstown is at and where they're at. And that'll determine whether they wanna represent. So, other than that, that's about it.
Okay. Questions for Sean?
Yeah. Sean, when, I don't know where it'll come in, but when they come back with Bell Stores on their designs and stuff, what's gonna be the talk about the big trees on that lot?
So the site plan that was presented, and I'm not as up to speed as Bailey, I came in about halfway through this particular application, so if you want more specifics, probably check with her, but I'll give you what I do know. The site plan that was presented does not have those trees, to my knowledge, in future existence of that particular plan. The ones towards the back that are up against the Perkins property, there may be some possibilities there. If you're referencing the one that splits the two lots that are there now, the old Rice lot and the current Bell Stores, that gargantuan of a tree is probably not going to be in existence, unfortunately. So they will have to come back with a landscape plan that will have to meet the GCC 1 district requirements. They have not submitted that. They'll also have to come back with a lighting plan to meet those requirements as well for the GCC 1 district. They're also going to have to do some studying as far as, what was approved was the design, the site plan will also have to come back, our engineers will take a look at that. We've been asked Jack for his opinion. In our current ordinances, the village manager has the discretion to determine where sidewalks go. We checked with Jack before that meeting, and he said he would like those sidewalks to be placed on their property lines and outside of the right-of-way. Obviously, given the fact that that intersection is subject to possible improvements, if anybody's read the Advocate. Knowing that, we advise them of that, they'll have to make the necessary changes when they come back and present a site plan. They've also been advised that the Oregon Street infrastructure there may be challenging, and we'll circle back around with them whenever that site plan comes in and notify them that they're probably gonna need to do a traffic study for the impact and to see if the infrastructure there can handle any type of box truck traffic, 18-wheeler traffic, obviously car traffic kind of gets through there in somewhat of an organized function, but right now, if anybody's driven through that, they know there's some challenges. So those are the processes that are still before them, and that is the site, the landscaping, and the lighting. The design has been approved so far, so.
We also have a tree ordinance about removing trees and stuff.
Okay. So that is something that I'm not up to speed on, and I'll get up to speed. I don't know the process for that, so. that
Yeah,
was-
basically on large trees like that, they will have to replace in other areas of town based on the width of the trunk, multiple trees in other areas, parks or areas that we designate. So replacement trees will have to be done with removal of that tree.
I did talk to Bailey about the red maple. Got a price on moving it, was $1,800 to move it.
To move it, only 1,800?
Yeah, but it was too late this year.
Yep.
But they will come back in the fall if they're not gonna tear the ground up and move it directly across the street. And the tree committee's got the money to pay for it if they will donate the tree, if they're not gonna tear it up before fall. It'd be October before we could move it.
And I'll convey that to Bailey so that she could reach out to Bell Stores.
I did talk to Bailey about
Okay.
it. Bringing council up to speed on
She's
it.
got that in-house. I don't know how fast the applications are gonna go through. Obviously, they've got some challenges and some studies that may or may not need to be done. So it could be fall, it may be sooner, but we'll definitely.
Well, at that price, I think it's well worth trying to do something with that tree.
He's got a 90-inch ball too.
Okay, because that's a surprisingly good price, I think.
We thought it would be much higher.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, safety and service met on May 4th. And as I understand it, we're going to waive the next meeting
I believe so.
and do a special meeting of council on that time frame. And so then Teresa will send out a notice of when the next safety service meeting is. Finance Committee, we dealt with last meeting. We took a report from Dana, and everything was in order. And if anybody has some questions with the finance report that she gave us tonight, we can deal with those.
Can we get the next meeting before July? There's a 2-month gap there, plus
Sure,
been 2 months.
we can do it in June.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
There would be a meeting in June. What?
It
Oh,
says
no,
next one's 7/21.
No, it should be 6/21,
Oh, sorry.
or whatever that Tuesday is.
Yeah, should be June.
And we will have that meeting, because we'll have the new members to get their teeth wet on it. Okay, so that's finance. Economic development, Doug, you wanna? We had our meeting on the 6th of May. The next one is the 3rd of June. And we just had some wide-ranging discussions
I think we did.
about economic development. And that's where we sort of left it.
We did. Yeah, there wasn't a whole
And
lot.
we sort of also talked about what rumors we had as far as businesses that may be coming to Johnstown, et cetera. There wasn't a lot of detail, but as
was
I
a good
remember,
presentation.
that's what we had.
It was a good presentation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that was a presentation on the
Yeah.
neighborhood community.
Neighborhood
Yeah.
community development and
a
also
TIF tax and maybe running them together.
TIFs and et cetera, and that was, we had during that period.
Yep.
And we, that was, I thought, well worth it, as a presentation. And we had some questions and we got them answered. And that will probably, it'll be back. Parks and Rec was canceled for today. It next meets on June 21st. We won't cancel that one. We're gonna need to have it. And hopefully, Representative Frazier has told me that the budget, the finance chair has approved our submission and his submission on our behalf for state dollars. And we should hear something beginning of June. It's supposedly on their schedule for the first week of June to vote on it. And then we'll be notified for both the amphitheater and the splash park. So stay tuned. The tree commission met on the 26th. Marvin, anything you want to add for that?
We planted one tree out here. We planted 3 trees at the trailhead for the parking lot. We got some more trees to plant. So that's about what we've done the tree commission, and that's it.
Okay. Questions for Marvin? Anybody? Okay. Events committee, I know they met on the 12th of May, and I know that they're moving ahead with the July 4th festivities, and we signed the contract with the fireworks provider. Hamburg. That's been done. I know they worked on, we got the restroom issue resolved, and we got the dumpster donated by local waste for us. So that's moving along, and if anybody has any questions, we can carry it back to the events committee. Okay. Next up is direct reports. Dana has included a report in our packet. If anybody wants to ask anything that I may know of, but I don't know any, other than I read through it and it looked pretty good to me. Next up, police. Rusty.
So for the month of April, we had no in-person training in April due to an instructor illness. We've rescheduled that for the month of May. We're doing Police One Academy. This month, we did advanced traffic stop and safety. Last month, we did just basic traffic stop and safety. We're continuing our state mandated continued professional training. It covers ethics, diversity, domestic violence, hate crimes. It's a slew of things. It's a total of 24 hours. Each sworn officer has to do it. Officer Hargraves completed 40 hours of FBI LEADA, Supervisor Leadership Academy Institute. Officer Pesci completed 8 hours of multi-jurisdictional drone training at Zumbizi Bay, Columbus Zoo. I listed the agencies that were involved with that. Sergeant Hatfield has completed 7 weeks of Public Safety Leadership Academy. It's 11 weeks total, and he has 4 to go with that. Social media, Facebook, we reached almost 18,000 people, posts almost 11,000, and had 75 new followers. Our fuel costs, as everybody would know, went up. Our gallon usage was 566 with a total of $2,121. All marked patrol cars drove a total of 5,057 miles within the city of Johnstown. They idled for 401 hours. Total time in motion was 658 hours. And engine off for the month was 1,097 hours. Each patrol car stopped approximately 2,221 times in April, and each officer drove 37 miles per shift. The daily average driving time for a vehicle was 1 hour and 52 minutes. With this, I also included some statistics. I'm not going to go through every single statistic, but I was able to provide that, and I believe that's something that the council would like to receive. I was able to provide that, and hopefully that's it's good enough. That's what I can get so far. If there's anything else that anybody would like to see, I will look into if I'm able to provide it based on our switchover with our CAD system. So hopefully it's good enough for the council for tonight.
Questions? Rusty?
Definitely appreciate
Yeah,
the
it's awesome.
stats on that.
The one question I have, we have the fuel cost. Is there any way to see we've seen the fuel cost, but how many miles each month to go along with that?
So each, well, per day it's 37. I'm not able to
Okay.
figure out per month. I can't break that down.
Okay, that's fine.
I wish I could, but I can't.
We're seeing it go up. I'm figuring their driving's going down a little bit this month based on,
Based on last month?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we also had, one guy was in training, so I thought I was gonna get that question. So, a lot of that came down to training. I had a guy in training for a week, and I also had another guy in 8-hour training as well. So, based on their training, based on vacation, a sergeant was on vacation for a week, so that lowered our miles. The training would lower our miles, so it really just depends on vacation and training, for that mileage to be able to get you that number.
Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you, Rusty. We appreciate it. Okay.
Let me, I got
Jack, go ahead.
manager's report at this point. I know
Go
it's
ahead.
not on there, but I got a number of things we
Okay.
just need to highlight and hit.
Absolutely.
To start with, as most council knows, we had a meeting with Representative Mark Frazier today. And basically, what come out of that meeting is they're going to do an engineering firm is going to do a complete study, name,
He's sitting,
American Structure Point, forgive me. American Structure Point is going to do a complete study of Licking County. They're going to do an overview of what plants are where, what capacities are where in Licking County are we short on water and sanitary services, and hopefully at the end of this, make recommendations of where we need expansion, who can expand, and who's available to expand. Is that fair in a short, quick synopsis?
That was very well done. Happy to answer questions.
Okay, yes, so if there's additional questions, but let me get through this because I do have a few items. Had the pre-construction meeting for Edwards Road. Obviously, we're wanting to do that as soon as we can. We are planning on Edwards Road to be started the end of this month. What I do want to say, though, is regardless of what schedule, I will push them back until State Route 62 is open. Because we all know Edwards Road is an alternative route down 62. But I just want to let you know, Shelley Company is here, they're gearing up, and we should, if 62 gets opened up at Beach, we should see work on Edwards Road begin shortly after.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. We will have a bid opening for the East Jersey project on May 27th. So we'll get those long-awaited numbers on that major project going into the Trailhead Park. I'm ready to make a move, and working with Interim Chief Smart, I need, and I want council's approval to lift the hiring freeze to bring in or advertise for, and Diane is here with our HR, we're prepared to start to bring in, advertise for, to bring in a new mayor's court clerk and leads position. Now, this has to be, as we're working things, approved by council. This is where we're at. Officer Balisari has been gone for a while and has not been replaced. Megan, who is our mayor's court clerk, has been offered and accepted that position. She has not been able to fill the hours out on the street because she is continuing to do the mayor's court clerk job and the leads job. So at this point, I need to support Chief Smart in getting her on the road and her training started, which I believe you told me would be a 6 to 8 week training.
Yeah, basically 6 to 9.
Yeah, she has a lot of background, but actually being on the road, in the cars, in the street, on the street is something that obviously she needs trained very strongly and taken care of before she can be out there on her own. But to do that, I need a mayor's court clerk so we can move to that position. So I am going to ask council if they have an appetite to lift the hiring freeze to fill that position so I can go out for advertisements.
Discussion. Question.
Is Megan filling the job that Baldessaro left?
She will fill his position, which this council did approve the hiring for that
Yeah.
position. What was unexpected is that the previous chief hired the mayor's court clerk, which she is qualified and certified to take the position, which then created a second hire that had to be done. Well, we put the brakes on that while we were working through it. But I think this council's decided we're going to keep mayor's court, so therefore we will need a mayor's court clerk. So the goal here would be to move Megan into her new full-time position and then advertise for mayor's court clerk.
Well, she would move into it once she gets the new mayor's court clerk.
Well, she will have to train.
She'll
She'll
train
have
that
to train.
person, train that person, and then once that person's trained, she would then go.
She would go into training.
Rusty, did you talk to Megan herself, and Megan said that she
I
wanted
have
to?
talked to Megan, and I have talked to Megan, and I have talked to Megan. She is not.
This is what she wants?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think that I would be in agreement for that, Jack, but I know Councilman Block has asked for a job description to be put together for that. Do we have it?
Yes, I believe that is done. It's been turned into Julia. Julia has reviewed it and said it is correct and applicable for the position.
So do we need a motion to?
I'll move to take it off the table, and
I don't think it was.
I'll second it.
it was
Well,
on.
Table.
It's not on the table.
Well, what I need you to do is for this position,
Motion to
lift the hiring
Lift the hiring.
freeze.
I make a motion that we lift the hiring freeze of the police department
I'll second.
This position, for this
for
position.
this position.
I'll
Moved and
second.
seconded. Is there further discussion? Teresa will call the roll.
Doc Harnett,
Yes.
Joe Meredith.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Robin Block.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Doug Liner.
Yes.
Sharon Horn.
Yes.
Now, to move on with my report, we also have the job description that Diane and I are reviewing to open to hire a new chief. We are not ready to do that at this moment, but I just want to let you know, preparations for looking and getting that position ready are in the works, so it's moving forward. Tree ordinance, dangerous tree ordinance. We discussed this at the last meeting. I've looked up the village guidelines, discussed it with Bailey. It is fairly clear. At my discretion, I can determine that there is a dangerous tree. Now, the operation that comes from there is I need to notify the owner of that tree that it needs to be removed. And it is to be removed at the owner's expense. Now, if the owner does not remove that tree, then I can have that tree removed by an independent company, and then the bill will be sent to the owner or it will be applied to their taxes. So I want to let everybody know that's procedurally how we're going to handle it. Is there any comments on that?
You're fine.
Thank you. We discussed a little earlier, the TID, which is taking the lead in some of the traffic work here in Johnstown. I met with Bill Lozier, who is the main person in that group, and had a wonderful meeting with him the other day. They are going to look more closely at a roundabout and getting a roundabout in and trying to get funding for a study at 62 and 37. We also talked with them about additional roundabouts needed as development happens out here on Concord and 37 to see about studies for roundabouts here and up at Croton Road. There also is discussion of a truck route bypass for Johnstown. Now let's understand what that means. That's going to be a very long term because the term bypass or connector, however you want to term it, that is more of acquisition of ground, building of roads, connecting to existing roads. So that would be a long-term. Working with the intersection at 62 and 37 would be a, what they call intermediate. They didn't call it short-term. That would be a intermediate solution. So I do want to make you aware that I've met with him. We're in discussions to move that agenda forward to try to handle the roads as the traffic continues to grow through Johnstown. I real quickly need to cover roads. We're not going to have a safety service meeting because we're going to have a work session coming up. Most of my high public works grants and low interest loan items have to be in September. So I need to start working with engineers on what we're going to do. Now, for the past several years, we have done full depth reclamation, water line replacement, and just as on Jersey Road here, it's a full-blown repair, sidewalks, curbs, road, water service lines. You can only do about 2.5 to 3 blocks for just between $1 million and $1.5 million. I have roads that are in such a condition, and I'm going to talk about sections of Casson, College, Track, that are in really terrible shape. Also, West Douglas. I think we need to bite the bullet, and for some of this high public works money that we're applying for, run through, let's do the mill and fill, let's get some semblance of a base of a road back on those roads versus full depth repair and reclamation. We can get more coverage. Will it last as many years? We're hoping to get 15 to 20 years out of these roads that we're doing full depth repair and reclamation, but we can only do 2 or 3 blocks at a time at that expense. I honestly believe the roads aren't going to last long enough. We need to put together a mill and fill package to try to get more coverage on the roads. I may look at full depth and storm sewer repair on West Douglas. That will connect with the storm sewer work we did on South Oregon and tie into that, and anybody that's driven by the school know that that section of road needs some storm sewer work severely. In the absence of a safety service meeting, I actually need to get started on this program because we have to get the roads laid out, I have to get distances, I have to get estimates and measurements. Does that sound like a plan that this council would like to follow for me to go with, or do you want to stay with the shorter amount length of road but do more full depth reclamation?
I just have one question. So if we mill and fill, which I'm very familiar with this process, I know that some of the roads are significantly higher than they once were, meaning that I know, where the water taps are and or where the drainage should be going isn't there, and we've made on some of them some temporary fixes. I'm sure you know exactly which one I'm talking about. There's a drain that's now uncovered that hasn't been there in 4 years. Are we gonna try to lower mill and then come back?
The problem with going much deeper than, let's say we're gonna mill off 1.5 inches and replace with 1.5 inches, if you get past that old base pavement that's under there and you get down to the dirt and the stuff,
brick under a lot of it.
It won't last at all.
Are we just gonna? Can we put risers on them?
Oh yeah, we'll bring everything up to grade,
And then
yes, and also soft spots. As we're doing our proof rolls and we see an extreme soft spot, we will dig that out. But like we've did on Concord Road, East Jersey from 37 to Anaway, what you see on Casson, from Casson up to Pratt. We built roads.
Oh, yeah.
We built good roads, but we just can't get the coverage we need to keep up with what we're doing. So, yes, we will definitely bring things up. We will make it grade equivalent to what we're milling out and then putting back. But I just think we have to get more coverage.
Oh yeah. No, I'm in agreement. I know that one spot, that's the only one that I get to see all the time. It fills up with water, and I'm like, now it doesn't as bad, but it's still. I'm sure Ray Speck doesn't like his lot flooded every other week.
Yeah, but what we're trying to do is enhance that area going into the Trailhead Park. We're going to have more people coming in there as we enhance the park, and if the splash pad and becomes a reality, which we are hearing that we have a very good chance that those dollars, the entrance roads into that park really need our vision.
Is this what you recommend?
This is what I'm recommending.
Well, you've been doing it for 41 years and you're coming to us for, okay, I say-
Well, I like building the road correctly, because then the surface lasts much longer and much better. I hate paving something that I'm afraid in 7 years will begin to deteriorate, but we can't get enough done of the full depth reclamation. It just doesn't stretch far enough.
Those roads are awful.
I recommend we have
They're
Jack
awful.
go ahead with these recommendations.
I'll second.
Okay, well, I will start prepping that then. The last item I want to bring to your attention is, I talked with Jeff Barr from the JYAA. They are in need of areas for soccer fields. They are working with the church over here to use their grass area back behind. What they need from us is to use our parking area. I said I didn't see a problem with that. I want to bring it to council. So what we will need to do is create a calendar of when we have events and nights here, because I think they have both or all spring, summer, and fall soccer. Any soccer enthusiasts in here? But I think the youth program has, summer and fall soccer. So if there's no problem, I, meaning Teresa, will create a calendar of nights we have meetings and people are in here that they cannot use the parking lot. Chief, not in your area, do you have a problem with people being in here and walking over to that area to work? Don't see any problems with that. I didn't. If you're good with that, I will let them know and we'll move forward.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I think so, right?
Okay, any questions on any of those items? And Mike is here in case you have any questions on the meeting with Mark Frazier.
The only concern I have is with the TID,
Okay,
with the roundabout uptown at 37 and 62.
okay,
We keep going back to, we want to maintain the feel of Johnstown, rural Johnstown. When you put a roundabout in the heart of our city, you just destroyed the heart of our city. I just want that to go on record, I'm not a big advocate of that.
okay.
You have a lot of people here that keep saying with Intel coming in, we want to maintain our certain identity as a smaller rural community, even though we're going to grow. I think that's going to take away from it.
Okay, my view is we've got to do something with this traffic. We have changed the timing on that light more times than I can count. And let's be honest, more traffic's coming. And all the studies with the engineers that I've worked with and discussed these with, the best and easiest way to flow traffic through not at a high rate of speed, but constant movement, is a roundabout. I am open to any other suggestion on how to move it. Now,
I think you can move several hundred cars off the road every day if you approach the school district and have them put busing back in. You can eliminate 400 cars twice a day.
The school liaison committee, I think that'd be a wonderful thing for them to discuss with the school. But I think we have tried to discuss that with the school. I really believe we have. We've brought that up.
I would personally I understand what Doug's saying about the feel. I would like to see what their drawings would look like and how can we incorporate the small town feel into a traffic. I think there's ways that could possibly be done.
And I appreciate what Doug is telling me, and I appreciate what you're saying, and yes, this would just be for planning. We're not talking about building. We would be able to see what it is. We did tell them, we want to protect what we call South Main, the block buildings, the brick buildings. Sean's sitting over there twitchy. But there will have to be some ground, taken somewhere to get a roundabout in. But I think it's something we're going to have to consider at least. And well, of course, we'll have the engineering behind it, whether it makes sense or not, because we can't get the traffic we currently have through town.
We're sitting here talking about doing an engineering study on that. Why wasn't the people told about this when they come in to build a new station up there? That's the corners you're talking about, isn't it?
Yes, but it's not a done deal. There is no study at this point. We didn't have money to fund the study. The TID has stepped up saying, we'll fund the study to take a look at it. And as long as they are going to foot the bill to see how we can get more traffic through there, I think it's a wonderful
And
idea.
and if I'm not mistaken, the TID paid for the resetting of the lights and the study of the lights. So,
Yeah, and again, I know we're talking about two properties up there that would be affected, probably both sides of the road. But we did discuss, there are relocation programs where they're paid for relocation, they're paid for lost income, those things. Now, that's only if construction comes to fruition. That, we're not even there. We're looking at a study to see what would it take, how much ground do they actually need? And it's not on our dime, so I see no reason not to look at it. Unless council wants me to call and stop it. Johnstown's not interested in it, we won't do it.
I'd be in favor of getting the study done. I think you can have a roundabout and maintain that rural character. They've done it. Sunbury is much larger. It's not a roundabout, but they have a significant portion of their downtown. Mount Vernon, Somerset, Newark has a couple roundabouts downtown. I think it can be done, but it has to be done thoughtfully.
Yes, I agree, but the reason I think it's a good idea is because we can look at it, when it gets to the aesthetics, I think we would have a very large amount to say about how it would go and how it would be purchased. The study could take 6-8 months and then nothing ever come of it.
Right.
That's why we don't stop the Bell stores or anybody from moving forward, knowing that if something would happen, obviously there would be compensation to them.
Can we add to the study? Can we ask them, you said a roundabout at Leafy Dell and 37.
Now, those are I told them in the future, we wanted to look at that.
Okay.
The primary.
So they're
what
not gonna do this one? that
Right,
one yet.
job
Okay.
one
Job
is
one
to look
for
at
them.
62 and 37.
All right.
But I wanted to throw more in there. Well, once we take care of the 62, 37, we also have 37 on each end that we need to discuss.
All right.
No, go ahead, Marvin.
I don't understand how that got priority over the other ones we've been talking about for months.
Priority over what?
We've been talking about one here and up at Leafydale for quite a while. Up at Croton Road and entrance to Leafydale, we've been talking about that for a year or longer.
Yeah.
and there's money already in the, it's not TID.
Is that already
but
done?
there's money in 27
Well,
or
for
something.
the Leafy Dell.
For Leafy Dell,
Roundabout or
something.
light.
Yeah,
There's been conversations about it,
Safe.
but what the TID, the Transportation District, is interested in was 62 and 37. I brought up to their attention 37 on the south and 37 on the north also needs to be looked at. But you've got to work with, if their focus is 62 and 37, and they're willing to pay for that study, but they're not currently willing to pay for the other ones, I said, yes, take a look at it. And Johnstown would support looking at it, unless I'm hearing different.
I support having the study done, since it's not going to cost us anything, but I'm like Doug, I hate roundabouts, but
What,
it's me.
the money for it come from someplace. And if the council is not gonna come back and support this in the future, why are we gonna waste money on doing a study on it?
Well, we don't know
say
council's not
that.
going to approve it.
right.
You know?
And it's ODOT dollars that are given to the Licking County to TID, and that's where that funding comes through, LCATS and the TID.
Okay, they're gonna give us anything on what, they're just gonna do the study on the roundabout.
Yeah.
In that
Start.
In the
area.
downtown area. It's 37.
Because they've identified that as a problem intersection that the whole state's looking at.
Because if that's not going to work, the next thing that we're talking about is bypass.
Bypass, that's right.
And that's
Yeah.
15 years in the making.
And
at least,
actually,
so.
what we're trying to look at is what we call the intermediate and long term. The immediate was trying to change the timing on the lights. That was the immediate. We'll put more time on 62, less on 37. which we got grief over that. So we increased 37 and reduced, we got grief on that. I think we've got it
working-
about as good
It's working pretty good now.
as it can be right now. So that was the immediate fix. The intermediate fix is, what else could we do to keep that traffic flowing even better? That would be the roundabout. Long-term fix would be a truck route. They're not gonna call it a bypass, but what we're discussing is a possible just truck route. Get the trucks out of downtown Johnstown, except for local delivery. So that was the three-phase attack. And the reason that was pinpointed was simply because we've had to work with ODOT to change the timing sequence at 62 and 37 so many times. It is a target point for them. Leafydale is not a hard target point for them. That's a target point for Johnstown.
Further discussion? Okay, you got more stuff?
I'm done.
Okay, good. Next, legislative. First up is ordinance 09-2022, an ordinance amending ordinance 47-21, the annual appropriation ordinance of the city of Johnstown to approve necessary changes of appropriation. Jack, you want to handle this one? This is the
Upgrade signal.
upgrade signals arms.
Oh, yes,
$14,000.
yes, very simple. Excuse me, Mayor. My brain was getting exhausted there. Up at the Wendy's light, the bids have come in for the light replacement, and we told ODOT that we wanted to have the decorative lights versus just the standard bid lights, and that was gonna cost Johnstown an additional $14,000 to go with the decorative lights. That was the change order price. And so what we're doing here is approving the additional $14,000 so the decorative light poles can remain consistent down the road.
Okay, so it was introduced on the 4th of May. We're gonna have a public hearing and a vote this evening, so, somebody wants to move this.
I'll make a motion.
Then
second.
Ryan has moved it, John has seconded it, and, so I'm gonna open a public hearing.
Louis?
Hang on a second. Open the public hearing, and anybody who wants to say anything or ask a question is free to do it. Louis?
If I may,
Yeah.
my question, is that gonna happen this year, or is that happening next year when they do the road?
They're doing the road this year.
Are they gonna do the road this year?
Yes.
So the expenditure would be this year?
Yes.
Question
From the
But,
bridge to
and
Wendy's.
ODOT had to know that we were willing to foot our portion to order the fancy arms. So it matches the one at the Kroger light, which is right next up the street.
I want to make one quick comment if I can.
Sure.
They did, ODOT sent an email.
The amount's the same, they just sent in the wrong appropriation number, as I understood it.
It just says that they discovered that the specialty polls did not pull into the estimating computer properly, which
Correct.
will require an adjustment to the funds owed by the city. We will owe more, but they believe it'll be under $3,000. And we will not, they're not gonna invoice us on that until the project is complete. So it won't be this year's budget.
Okay.
It can be something.
That's cool.
next year. I just wanted to let you know.
But they wanted their 14 grand up front.
Yeah, that has to come up front. That was part of the agreement. So, okay, so what she's saying is the error, which is gonna be less than 3,000, won't be invoiced till next year.
Next year.
They're not
And-
gonna make us adjust this ordinance.
Right.
And pay ahead.
Any further public
Okay.
questions, discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Council members, do you have further discussion, questions, et cetera?
I just
Hearing-
asked Teresa to mark that next year so somewhere she can explain it to us when we forgot the
Again, yes.
$3,000.
What's this 3,000
I
for?
did talk to Dana about it, so hopefully
Okay.
she makes a little note. But I
Thank
wanted
you.
to, yeah, not that any of us
And-
will remember
and
this next
No
year.
further discussion. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
John Merriman,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Robin Block,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
John Lehner,
Yes.
Karen Hendren.
Yes.
Ron Barner.
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance is agreed to. Next up is ordinance 10-2022. Ordinance amending chapter 1151 of the City of Johnstown codified ordinances and declaring an emergency. This is to change planning and zoning for AR1. Ryan, you want to
Yeah.
lead us through this
I'll
one?
give you some background on this. So, as I said with our review of our current zoning, going through everything, deciding to take a different route, we identified some areas that were a little bit more concerned to us and our infrastructure and things going on of that nature. So we highlighted this item as something to move through. And as the wording says, this comes in to protect the city, water and sewer capacity due to the anticipated immediate growth and development. So as we know, things are coming this way. We want to be out ahead of it. A large project like this could hurt that. This is going to change the amount of dwelling units. It adds an ingress and egress, increases the lot size requirement, increases setbacks, lot coverage, decreases height, increases living space, green space, and the buffer on there to give us something that is going to be more inside the framework that we can absorb.
What is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Questions?
What is the size for the egress and how many units or whatever?
I don't think we listed that in here. We just did the number. That would come through engineering based on the amount of traffic we could expect.
So anyhow, what we're doing tonight, it's introduction, a public hearing, and a vote. So we have introduced it. I need to have a motion.
I would, if you
Are we gonna make
plan to
comment on
pass
it?
it as an
Or
emergency,
is that after the public?
can you ask for a motion to waive the second reading?
I will after we get to that point.
Oh, okay.
We're not there yet. So first we got to get this thing introduced. So somebody has to move it.
I will make the motion.
Ryan has moved it. We have a second.
I'll second.
And Doug has seconded. Okay, so it's now introduced. We're going to do a public hearing first, and anybody has anything to say about it? Louis, you're on. Yeah, if you want. Or you can stay right there. We can hear you.
Hey, I think, at least most of you know, I oppose any emergency
We know.
legislation. One, you take the ability of taxpayers to referendum an emergency. It cannot be referendum. And what are you doing in this? There's no authority in this. You're not changing that thing. And it simply says, without immediate passage of this ordinance, the city's capacity to provide water and sewer services to its residents could be jeopardized. That's not an ordinance. That's a resolution. That's a temporary thing.
Okay.
Note that our law director did.
The wording in here gives you no authority to do a darn thing.
So this changes the size and scale of it.
No, it
No,
does
this
not.
gotta-
That's not part of the legislation. What you may want to do, that's not in the legislation.
So that'll have to be reviewed by legal.
I already had him
It's-
do that.
Yeah.
They've already done that,
Okay.
and if
So that's my whole thing.
there's, I don't know whether you have the chapter 1151 that has all of the changes in the AR1 district as part of this resolution, or ordinance.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the legislation that's before council, and that's the only thing I'm looking at.
But if you'll notice, section 1, chapter 1151 is amended, changes and edits are shown in the attachment. The attachment is the 1151.04.
There is no attachment to it.
Yes, there is.
Is.
There is 1151.
You got an extra copy, Teresa.
There's no reference attachment in the legislation.
Yes, there is.
Well, it may be there, but it's not,
Section 1 says,
that's my comment.
I appreciate that.
So based upon that, I do oppose it.
Okay. Anybody else while we're on this?
I'm all
all for it.
Okay,
I wish it happened about a year ago,
well, so do we, but,
but
You
I
wanna
think it's a
co-
great move for Johnstown.
Did you get a copy of this?
No, it's not in the package of published. I just borrowed hers.
It is,
Pardon me?
it's in the packet.
What came up Friday night?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
in there.
it was,
I read it
Only
all.
got 2 sheets.
well, there was
You didn't print it all.
one,
Yeah, because we
The
made
link
download the
is
entire
on
package.
last
there's
Tuesday.
20, there's 5 extra pages that you didn't have. So anyhow,
Need a motion to.
I'm going to close the public hearing, hearing no other discussion. And then we have to do first a motion to waive the second reading, if people want to do that.
On that.
And Ryan
I'll
has
second.
moved and Doug has seconded to waive the second reading and pass this as an emergency. I think, can we do that all together, Teresa, or we need 2 separate votes?
2 separate votes. please.
Okay, so first up is be the
Can we-
motion to waive the second reading.
Can I have a question on that?
Yep. Go
Why,
ahead.
why can't we wait 2 weeks and just reread it again? And why do we have to have it done this week versus
If
in
somebody
2
brings
weeks?
an application in,
Good.
they don't fall into the.
Well, I'm trying, that's what I'm asking. Why is it an emergency?
So with
and not 2
the
weeks?
length of time that our zoning was taking to get through everything and the length that we were looking at in the future, the time frame from getting through zoning, through council and going through all that, we could have a number of applications, all of which would put a huge burden on the system, which we want to avoid that. So going through this emergency will allow us to avoid that.
Further discussion.
I
Then do we have a motion on the floor and
do
we have.
have some discussion.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
don't know what the temperature is, but I would like to see the 8 go down.
What?
Okay.
The what?
Oh,
8.
so on,
So your first section 1151.01 in the purpose, it says development in the form of multifamily residential units not to exceed 8 dwellings. I'd like to see that decrease.
It is going from 12 to 8. Now you want to move it to something?
6.
6.
Sean, where did we, if you can give us background on that, where did we come with 8? Because I think we had even talked about 7.5, but there was a reason based on
I'll try
that.
to pull up some of my notes from it, and maybe before I do, I'll just try to give you some background. Yeah, so I think of the first draft that I kicked over to Bailey, it was 7. Let me find the notes. We had looked at and identified what Redwood was, and trying to land somewhere closer to that. Obviously, not wanting to be in the structure that the current Coal Drive apartment complex is. They've utilized that 12, and obviously the application that was submitted for the area next to the condos was 12. So they wanted to reduce that obviously to be more in line with the Redwood. In the notes, it gave some examples of some different areas and the densities as far as per acre per lot. So 7 was originally a placeholder. We moved it to 8, but then I think we discussed with Well Tower that came in last Friday, they went from, about a 5 to 7 per unit per acre, which was the pitch. So I think anywhere you land in there, it's a personal preference, for council to decide for the impact that you want it. So I think safely you could choose anywhere from 3 to 8 if you want it. New Albany, they do 3 units per acre on senior. So that's kind of the guidepost that we were using, not New Albany, but
Yeah.
Redwood, I think, was the template that we were looking at. So I think they were right around
I'd like to see 5.
John, you want to see 5? Is there,
I mean, I'm not attached to 8. I think we just looked at historically what we had around town and tried to mimic that. So, I mean, if you wanted to go down to 7, I think that's where we started at. I think 6 or 7 is pretty close to where we looked at industry wide too, where some of the nicer units were at.
I thought we were like, in theory, I thought we were gonna look for like, in general, probably saving rural characteristic. We're probably gonna go with like conservative building plans. Conservative building plans probably are gonna tend to be way less homes per acre, way less everything per acre, lots of green space. So that's what I was just saying. I mean, if we could go down, I think 5 is,
so
still get them in.
do you want to amend the motion that's on the on the floor, to make a change from 8 to 5?
Yeah. I would agree with 6, not 5.
You like 6? Do we have some consensus? We want to go to 6,
Yeah, I mean,
5,
like I said, I'm not
whatever?
attached
I
to
don't care.
8. We can do whatever you guys want to do. 7's, I think, what we brought up originally. I think it's pretty lenient.
Okay,
So,
Either
I
one,
found
5
the
or 6.
notes if you want reference so that you can help make a decision.
Yeah.
Redwood is at 7.
Yep.
So that's where we landed at first in the documentation. And for conceptual numbers, let's see, 9 per acre. Let's say an area is 7 acres. I'm using that reference because it's relevant. Oh, she left. With the condo situation. So if you have that condo lot in your mind, these numbers will help be relevant. So 9 per acre would reduce that to 63 units. 8 per acre would give that to 56 units. 7 per acre would put it to 49. I can keep going down the path, but I'll do the math real quick. 7.
so the question is whether we have 5 or 6, right?
6 times 7, you're gonna be at 42. If you go to 5 times 7, you're gonna be at 35. So it just depends on the flavor and the appetite of where you guys wanna be at. Those are.
Whatever you guys want, just somebody make a motion to amend this, and somebody's got a second.
I'll make a motion to amend to 5.
To 5, okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend this to be 5 dwellings units per gross acre. We're gonna vote on that first. So, any further discussion? If not, Teresa, want to call the roll on, this is on the amendment to move the dwelling unit number from 8 to 5. I think I stated that properly.
Are there gonna be any other edits?
Good question.
I mean, I'm
She
thinking,
asked if there'd be any other edits.
I'm just thinking.
No, I think that's.
What we need
Go
to do is.
through all of them.
But
Oh, my God. No.
All of them before you take it. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything to?
Okay, so that's it, I think, Teresa, but if you want to call the roll on this one, and then we'll get this amendment done and then move on.
Okay. Ryan Green,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
No.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes,
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
John Barnard,
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
okay, so the amendment is agreed to. Now we have to vote on the, waive the second reading and pass it as an emergency. And I think we can combine those two, right, Teresa?
No.
No,
Those are
we
the ones-
can't. Okay, so first up is we're gonna waive the second reading. So this is somebody needs to move to waive the second reading? And
I think you already have a first.
did somebody,
have that.
somebody
Yeah,
did
yeah,
that?
I made a motion.
Okay, and then we
John
amended
seconded
it.
Yep.
So that's where we are now. Okay, so this is on waiving the second reading. Teresa, would call the roll.
Yes. Marvin Block,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
John Barnard,
Yes.
John Merriman,
Yes.
Okay, the
Ryan Green.
Yes.
second reading has been waived, and we'll now move to passage as an emergency. So
amended.
somebody needs to make the motion.
I'll make the motion on that.
I'll second.
Ryan and John and Teresa, is there discussion?
I'm sorry, who was first and second?
Ryan and John.
Ryan and John, and then I think we're ready, Teresa, for you to call the roll.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
John Barnard,
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Okay,
Yes.
the ordinance is agreed to and is passed as an emergency. Okay, next up is Resolution 2022-17, a resolution authorizing Licking County Commissioners to act as the purchasing agent and governmental aggregator for electric power for the city of Johnstown, Ohio. As you know, this was on the ballot at the primary election. It was agreed to, and however, in talking to Commissioner Bubb, he has said that they will not go out for the bids on this until the price point becomes advantageous as far as the price of electric power. They will hold the going out to a bid until that
So we can get a better deal.
situation, we get a better deal. And they'll do the same with the gas purchase, but the first swap is the electric side. And we're gonna introduce it tonight, do a public hearing and a vote. So I need somebody to move the resolution.
So moved.
Doug has moved it,
I second.
Sharon has seconded. Now we have to have a public hearing and a vote. Open the public hearing. Any comments? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Discussion. Any discussion?
Best part about this is anybody who doesn't agree with it can opt out.
And they can opt out.
Yep.
They are in total control of their situation. So any further discussion? If not, Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
John Barnard,
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Brian Green.
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes. Okay, the resolution is agreed to. Next up is Resolution 2022-18, a resolution authorizing Lincoln County Commissioners to act as the purchasing agent and governmental aggregator for natural gas aggregation program for the city of Johnstown, Ohio. This is the same situation. Commissioner Bub has assured me they will hold off until the price is advantageous. Tonight, we're just introduction, and then we'll do a public hearing and a vote. So I would ask somebody to move the resolution.
So moved.
Doug has moved it, Sharon has seconded. I'm gonna open the public hearing. Hearing nobody, I will close the public hearing. And any questions from members of council or discussion? Hearing none, Teresa, you wanna call the roll?
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
John Barnard,
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Brian Green.
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Doug Lehner.
Yes.
The resolution is agreed to. Next up is ordinance 11-2022, an ordinance granting non-exclusive franchise to Ohio Power Company, its successors and assigned, the right to acquire, construct, maintain, and operate in the streets, thoroughfares, alleys, bridges, and public places of the city of Johnstown, state of Ohio, and its successor, lines for the transmission and distribution of electric energy to the city of Johnstown and the inhabitants thereof, for light, heat, power, and other purposes, and for the transmission and distribution of the same within, through, or across said city of Johnstown, state of Ohio, subject to the city's codified ordinances, including the city's comprehensive right-of-way chapter. Jack?
Yeah, basically, we've had Yaz look this over. This is common and standard. We did add in there because we felt it may remove our right-of-way, I guess our
Our
right,
ordinance on the right of
our
way.
right to bill them when they're working in the right-of-way. So Yaz has made that correction, and we believe it's ready to go.
And the current agreement with Columbus and Southern, or wherever, AEP, or whatever they call themselves now, it runs out this year, and that's why they want this renewed. So that's renewing our electric agreement with AEP. And so we have to do a bunch of stuff tonight. Tonight, we're going to introduce it, do a public hearing and a vote. So first up is I need a motion to approve. What?
I put May 17th, but that's incorrect.
Okay,
This
is this,
is just the first
This is
reading.
first reading.
Yep. Introduction.
This is
introduction.
so this is just for introduction?
Yes.
Okay, great. My thing didn't, my script didn't say that, so. Anyhow, so it's just for introduction, so we have been introduced. Are there other legislative matters to
My
come?
only
or the
point
ballot?
with this one was,
Yeah.
is this where we can emphasize that we want all utilities underground as much as possible? Is there room in here for that?
No, but we can call them in and have that
I
discussion.
know, I'm sorry, Chip.
We can call them in and have that discussion.
Can we?
Sure. I'd like to see that.
In all seriousness, that would be probably a part of your comprehensive plan, and for any new
Right.
development, obviously those underground
Yeah.
and besides the electric company, the former telephone company should also, those lines should be moved too.
If I'm crazy, they can tell me no, but I want to
All.
try.
Okay.
If I'm crazy,
All
they
right.
can tell me no, but
No,
I tried.
go ahead, I like it. Anybody else?
I'd like to put a resolution on the table, a resolution to rescind Resolution 2021-29. Is not in the packet.
Okay,
Do you want me to read it, or do you want to read it? I can
go
read it.
ahead, I'm not, you
Okay.
go ahead.
This is resolution to rescind Resolution 2021-29. Whereas the Village of Johnstown adopted Resolution 2021-29 August 17th, 2021, adopting a document it refers to as the Johnstown Police Department Employee Agreement dated July 15th, 2021, a copy of which was attached thereto and labeled Johnstown Police Department Agreement Manual, hereinafter the JPD Manual, and whereas the Village of Johnstown was not a public employer subject to the Ohio Collective Bargaining Act, Ohio Revised Code Chapter 4117, and no employee organization was certified under that act, and whereas it is determined not to be in the best interest of the city or its personal management to maintain the JPD manual. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Johnstown, Licking County, Ohio as follows. Section 1. That the City of Johnstown Council hereby rescinds Resolution 2021-29 and the document titled JPD Manual that was referenced therein to be attached thereof. Section 3 is found and determined that all formal actions of the City Council concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of the council, and that meetings of any of its committees with all legal requirements, including Section 121.11 of the Ohio Revised Code and the Charter of the City of Johnstown.
Okay.
It's a long read.
So you made a motion. Do we
I've made a
have a
motion.
second?
Second.
Marvin has seconded. Discussion. Now, I don't know whether we need to have a public hearing or whether we can just, this is a resolution we can consider. We don't need to do a public hearing. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Did you want to explain, somebody want to explain this in broad terms, what this does?
Basically, the labor attorney come and discussed with us that that document is an unlawful document. It didn't meet the items that Councilman Merriman had written out. Any wage increases that were given during that will not be rescinded. They will stay in place. There's no intention of this council to reduce wages, but the document itself is unlawful and inaccurate, and so we are removing it. I don't know,
That's
that's
pretty
about
good.
as plain as it can be, but we do want the force to know that any raises that were given under that document will not be removed.
Correct.
What about moving forward for what they?
That document will no longer be
It'll go under the
valid
handbook.
or in place.
It'll go under the handbook, employee handbook.
Yeah,
And
and
we're going to revert back to the city-approved wage scales.
and then, yeah, that's where we are.
No, that's where we're
Yeah.
going.
Further discussion amongst council members.
Rusty, do you have any other questions?
Rusty, I
Any
think,
questions, Rusty?
So we're not in that wage scale within the city or the employee handbook. It was rewritten, I believe, in 2021.
I believe you are within
Police are,
the wage
the
scale.
broad
police are.
ranges.
Without that, then we revert back to the employee list.
But no,
Again,
So basically, the officers are now gonna be on a merit, they're not gonna be on a step increase.
Correct. Until changes are made, we are going to go back to the standard city wage scales, which are merit raises, as all other village employees.
City.
City.
any further discussion? Hearing none.
Been too many years.
Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Sean Barnard,
No.
Sean Merriman,
Yes.
Brian Green,
No.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Sharon Hendrick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other business? I will entertain a motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
I do have a general
Donnie.
question. Sorry.
Donnie, it's all
This
yours.
is, this is for Jack. What are we doing about the sidewalks in town?
Well, we have talked, this council has talked about sidewalks many times.
Unfortunately, Jim left.
What?
No, go ahead.
Okay, the sidewalks are the responsibility of the homeowners according to the High Revised Code. Now, when Johnstown does do a major street project, many times we include sidewalk replacement with that project, but not always. But again, according to the High Revised Code, they do belong to the homeowner and must be maintained by the homeowner.
Because when we were talking about the dangerous trees,
Mhm.
we have very dangerous sidewalks, especially coming from Jersey this way
That is
on that
correct.
side of the street.
That is
Is-
correct.
Is there anything we can do to force the homeowner or to do something about I mean, they're dangerous.
I agree, and it's hard to force, well, here again, I don't know who has money to replace sidewalks, who doesn't have money to replace sidewalks. I think the most that we could probably do is send through our zoning inspection that a letter stating that your sidewalk needs to be repaired and cite the Ohio Revised Code.
Can't we ever do anything like we did with the tree, where if they don't fix it, we fix it and add it on their tax bill?
We certainly can, and that's been discussed in the past, but you have to understand, on the tax lien, it takes years and years and years to recoup that money. So it would depend on you folks on the budget, how much you would want to take out of your general fund budget and then recoup that over a 20-year period?
Each year.
Yep.
So that has been discussed and thoroughly looked at.
And
Councilman Lehner has been a champion of trying to come up to do something, but again, how do you fund it while you're waiting on the tax returns to recoup the money that you spent? That's the stumbling block we've had.
Would you say 25% of the sidewalks are bad, 50%? What percentage would you think in town is bad?
Dangerous or
Just broken.
Or just
up.
broken.
Well,
It needs-
but you
needs
gotta
repairs.
subtract from that the sidewalks that, as part of our road projects, have been replaced.
Yeah,
Like
and they're in
Coshocton
good
Street
condition. Yeah.
and Oregon Street.
But I would tell you, most of North Main, could we agree with that? North
Yeah.
Main and
South
sections
Main.
of South Main are in desperate need of repair.
Because if we're gonna put that splash park down there, the sidewalks to get down there
There
are awful.
There aren't
there aren't any sidewalks
Oh,
down
there
there.
are.
on Douglas.
Well, no, I'm talking about on Maine.
Yeah.
On Maine, the side.
I'm not gonna disagree with you at all, and I'm gonna say that, again, that's been discussed many times, but funding for that is the issue.
Okay.
Who,
Yeah.
I forget, who owns the sidewalks on Main in front of the businesses? Business owners?
The business
Yes.
owners.
Okay.
Business owner, and
Now,
they are,
a question there is, that's a little easier to get taken care of, usually financially wise.
but we have connecting sidewalks on Main Street that are non-existent.
Correct.
Basically, they're, chipped up slate,
Old sandstone.
the old sandstone that's still laying
I
there.
don't think they're too
And
bad.
I thought that's one of the
Really
people
only
was
one of
cited
those.
into mayor's court, and I don't know the
That
result
I
of
know.
Whole
that.
side, and they dropped off.
And Jim's
on the
gone,
golf
so
course.
we'll have to bring that back to him.
You couldn't put a wheelchair down
There are problems. We had somebody in your neighborhood that fell.
there. The one that goes right.
It's a continuing problem. We need to find a way to address it.
We, Jack, you'll remember, it was back, 10 years, we implemented a Safe Routes to School program. To
Yep.
block the traffic. That was something that was pretty successful. I believe it was 100% grant money, if not an 80-20 type of situation. I can check with Bailey and see if that program still exists. And we obviously covered a lot of the Johnstown area for the safe routes to school. I even think possibly a traffic signalization at Leafydale was even introduced as far as something that could be done. I'll get with Bailey and maybe some Prime and see if that's,
And I do think Bailey has been applying for the Safe Routes grants, but again, some years.
Sidewalks to schools,
yes.
Yeah.
and we got denied the last 3 applications.
Yeah, some years you're
It's
successful.
worth trying
in them,
again.
But again, they try to spread that money
For sure.
all around the state.
But we can revisit it if you want.
Oh, yeah, we can
Please,
continue to
absolutely.
I think we
apply.
should, Sean, because of the project that's coming in, with Intel, I think that's gonna be a bigger attractant.
Sidewalk money.
Might move us up the
I need
list.
my.
It might, yeah, I mean, seriously, that's,
Yeah, to the
I think that's what's
lobbyists.
been holding us back
I think we
for
should
so
send
long.
pictures too,
is
that might
just
help us move up.
That's a visual aid.
Yes.
Any,
Oh, yeah, it's
any,
funding. I mean, it's the funding grip. That's the
So-
problem.
I think what it comes down to, Donnie, when we talk, I mean, we've had some pretty lengthy discussions on this, and I did a lot of research on it. Finding the contractors is not a problem. That was one thing we were thinking about. If you get, 2 or 3 qualified contractors that would come in and say, we'll do it for $2.50 per linear foot, right? You can present that information to the homeowner at the same time that you say, hey,
I'll
you
take
have. I'll take
That's a
that
deal.
price. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I get it. And have that part of the price with a letter that says, you are responsible, here's the ORC. But what if they don't fix it? What happens then? And that's where the funding money has to come in, because the contractor surely is not gonna do that work and then just sit back and say, you got
Pay me
20
or
years to
not.
pay me.
yeah, no.
I mean, that's not gonna happen. So we have to actually be able to pay for that up front and then recoup it, through taxes.
So the reason we're doing it with the trees is because there's not as many trees for that to happen.
No, there's an immediate danger. We've got a tree, if you look down South Main, that's hanging over the road.
No, I meant,
and over power
I meant if they
lines.
don't pay for it and we have to do it, we don't have as many of those to have to defund
Yeah, well, I'm talking
ourselves.
about 2 trees.
Yeah, versus hundreds of sidewalks.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Linear
linear
feet,
feet
yeah.
of sidewalks. And
I understand,
Yeah.
It's
how
not even,
being
it's not
funded.
even necessarily, it's, the issue that you're gonna run into when you replace the sidewalks is the cost is gonna be hard to drive down because it's not necessarily the concrete, which is up high right now, but it's replacing the sub base. Cause you don't know what's under there. And then when you start trucking stone in,
Right.
Yeah.
8 hours, you
And
get.
then the other thing I think that we would all face through the citizens are, well, why did people on Coshocton get theirs replaced for free and we have to pay out of, that's the other big consideration.
Because it was part
Which
of
is
the
that
bigger project.
is a, valid point. Even though it was part of the, road widening construction that we did through there, we understand that, but, it's just been a lot of back and forth. It's still on the Safety and Service Committee agenda. We have not dropped it off.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, we know it's a big concern, and
So I
we
would
hear you
say,
loud and clear. I mean, we see the kids walking every day from, all the way up to Leafydale, so riding their bikes, and so.
Thank you.
We've kicked this can down the road, kicked it down for the last 5 years, got it on council. Either we're gonna quit talking about it, or step up to the plate and do something about it. We need to send these people letters, and, if it's, we gotta figure out how much money we got
Yeah,
to call it.
the question came back, because we said, we're all about, you can send the higher vice code, you can send the
Yeah.
letter, but then if they don't do anything with it, are we actually gonna do enforcement?
Yeah.
And then if we're not,
There's the reason I ask you the percentage of sidewalks that's bad. If better than 50% are bad, and we put a levy on for sidewalks, those 50% will vote the levy through to get their sidewalks fixed for free. Cause everybody in town will be paying for the levy, sidewalk levy.
Yeah, we could do this levy. Or we could do section by section.
We thought about that too.
that's been thought.
If you do a sidewalk levy, you call, I don't know how much it would cost to get them all fixed.
Or get somebody with a wheel.
but here again, if 50% of them say my sidewalk's fine, will they vote for the sidewalk levy, you think?
No, but that'll quiet them down. If they say just like we tried to get them to vote for an income
increase,
tax.
yeah.
They didn't vote for it, so when they complain, we don't have enough money to do everything that they want done. So if they don't want the sidewalks improved, they're gonna have to pay for them. We're trying to give them an easy way out, or I think an easy way out. If they don't wanna vote for that, then they stay the way they are.
Well, we can,
It's something I'm throwing out
we
there to think
can
about.
send the letter telling them they have to fix it, but again, if they don't, how are we gonna follow up with enforcement if we don't have a budget ourselves to say, okay, we're gonna come in and fix it, then we're gonna put it against your
They're not gonna
taxes?
pay any attention to any other letters they send you.
Because a lot of people will go, well, you go ahead and fix them, and then, you take out that piece over 20 years,
You might not even own the house.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, and that's very likely.
yeah. 5 years is all anybody says they're gonna live in the house for.
Okay,
When I sell it.
further discussion.
So, but no, great question, new on council.
And it's on, Safety and Services agenda and has been and will continue to be discussed.
Well, we gotta find an inventive
Yeah, we gotta
way
find an inventive way of doing this.
to do it.
So, anybody else? If not, I think we had a motion to adjourn before we got off on.
Second, too.
So
I
we've,
didn't hear
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Sharon,
it.
Teresa's gonna stay.
Marvin seconded it.
Marvin, or
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned, ladies and gentlemen.
Really?
Thank
I
you,
got a
everybody,
copy of this
for
for you.
coming, sticking with us.